What happens when a CEO disguises himself as a kitchen trainee only to witness a young worker break down in tears after being forced into a double shift? Gregory Allen wasn't planning on spending a week in a sweaty kitchen with a hairnet on. But lately, something had been gnawing at him. The small, fast casual chain his father built from scratch 13 locations across Arizona and Nevada was showing cracks. Complaints about slow service, high turnover, and exhausted staff had started piling up. His district manager's explanations sounded polished and rehearsed, like someone trying too hard to keep bad news buried. Gregory had never worked in the kitchens himself. He'd inherited the company at 26 after his father's sudden heart attack. Now 32, he realized he'd become too distant from the people running the day-to-day. "I need to see what's actually happening," he told his assistant one morning. "Not from a report. I need to feel it." To stay anonymous, Gregory grew out some scruff, dyed his hair darker, and wore thick glasses. He shaved his usually neat beard into patchy stubble. A friend who worked in casting helped him get a pair of fake tattoos on his forearms, his new identity. Ray, a quiet guy fresh out of culinary school looking for kitchen experience. No one at this location had ever met Gregory. It was one of the newer stores in Mesa, Arizona, opened just before the pandemic. Most of the original crew had long moved on. The store manager, a wiry man named Dennis, barely glanced up from his clipboard when Gregory introduced himself. "Ray, right, cool, kitchen's down the hall, talk to Mia." Mia Owens, the kitchen supervisor, looked barely out of her 20s. Her hair was tied in a frizzy bun, apron stained and eyes tired. "You're the new guy?" she asked, not unkindly. "All right, just try not to burn yourself or cry, it's been one of those weeks." Gregory chuckled. No promises. The kitchen was hot, cramped, and constantly behind. Orders came in non-stop. Fryers hissed, timers beeped, and workers yelled over each other. Mia moved like she had 3 bodies, grabbing trays, flipping pans, correcting orders, and still finding time to train him. She didn't complain, but she was clearly running on fumes. "Where's the rest of the crew?" Gregory asked during a short lull. 2 called out this morning. 1 quit last week. We're down to 5 on a shift that needs 9, she said, tossing lettuce into a bowl without looking, and they're not sending anyone from the other stores. Nope. Dennis says we gotta make do. She rolled her eyes. Easy for him to say, he's in his office half the day. Gregory filed that away. Later that afternoon, while scrubbing trays in the back, he noticed a girl no older than 19 standing frozen by the dish pit. Her name tag read Lena. Her hands clutched a dirty apron and her face was flushed and wet. Mia stormed in behind her, clearly angry. "Lena, I know you just finished a shift, but we're down 2 people. I need you to stay." Dennis approved the double. "I can't," Lena whispered. "I have to pick up my little brother. My mom's sick, I told you. I already stayed late twice this week." Gregory looked up from the sink, tension rising in his chest. Mia softened, but her voice stayed firm. "I get it, but if you leave now, we're screwed." Dennis said no exceptions. "I'm sorry." Lena's hands shook. I can't. He's only 7. I promised I'd be there." "I know," Mia said, quieter now. "But if you walk out, Dennis said he'll write you up. Again." Lena turned away, biting her lip. A short, choked sound escaped her. She wiped her face, but the tears kept coming. "This isn't fair." Gregory stepped in. "Hey, can I talk to Mia for a sec?" Mia blinked, surprised. "Sure, Ray, make it quick." They stepped outside by the back door. Gregory's voice was low. "You can't force her into a double." "That's not okay." "You think I want to," Mia snapped, rubbing her forehead. "I'm not the villain here. I've been covering for everyone for weeks. Dennis won't let me cut the floor. Every time I push back, he threatens to replace me." Gregory stared at her, torn between sympathy and frustration. "This place is breaking people." She leaned against the wall, looking defeated. "Yeah, and nobody up top seems to care." He didn't speak. He couldn't. Not yet. Back inside, Lena was gone, sent back onto the line, red-eyed and silent. She didn't speak the rest of the shift. Gregory's stomach twisted with guilt. That night, alone in his hotel room, Gregory sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. He'd seen enough to know this wasn't a one-time problem. This store was bleeding from the inside, short-staffed, overworked, and ignored. And the people paying the price were the ones doing the hardest work. He had 3 more days undercover, and a hell of a lot to fix. By the second morning, Gregory's arms ached from lifting the prep bins, and his lower back throbbed from bending over the grill during rush. He hadn't been on his feet that long in years, but the pain wasn't what stayed with him, it was the silence. The kind that settles over a team when people are too drained to talk. No music, no joking, just the rhythm of knives, timers, and low sighs. He arrived 15 minutes early, hoping to get a better look at how the day started. Mia was already in the walk-in, organizing produce crates alone. Her shoulders moved stiffly, like every motion cost her something. "You're early," she said, glancing up without judgment. "Figured I'd get some practice in before it gets crazy." She gave a half nod, then returned to sorting. "Cool, grab a cutting board, start on the onions." As he got to work, Dennis strolled in through the back door, sipping a large iced coffee. His shirt was untucked this time, sunglasses still on indoors. He didn't greet anyone. Instead, he stood off to the side, eyes scanning the kitchen like he was inspecting livestock. "Who was late yesterday?" he asked flatly. Mia didn't look up. "No one," he raised an eyebrow. "I reviewed the punch clock. Lena clocked in 2 minutes past start." "She was here," Mia said, still not meeting his eyes. "Doesn't matter. 2 minutes is 2 minutes. That's not how we build habits." Gregory kept his head down, slicing, but every word landed. Dennis pointed toward the front. "I need you to cut the prep time today. We're opening short again and payroll's being watched. You'll make it work." "I already shaved an hour," Mia replied. "We're at bare minimum." I said, "Cut more." She finally looked up. "Who's supposed to clean the grill if we don't bring in anyone early? Figure it out." Then he turned and walked out, not waiting for a response. Gregory kept chopping, but the knife in his hand felt heavier with each slice. Mid-morning, as the first orders started rolling in, he was paired with a line cook named Matteo. He moved with quiet efficiency, adjusting trays, flipping proteins, and calling out times with a calm competence. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was direct. "Keep your station clean." "If you fall behind, I'm not pulling your weight," he said without malice, just matter of fact. Gregory nodded. "Understood." They worked side by side for over an hour before Matteo finally asked, "You worked kitchen before?" "A bit," Gregory said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Mostly prep." "Not much service line." "You're not bad, but don't let Dennis catch you leaning on the counter. He'll dock your hours." "He do that often," Matteo shrugged. "If he doesn't like your face, yeah, that's stuck." "Has he ever said anything to you?" Matteo hesitated, then shook his head. "He doesn't talk to me, not unless something's wrong. Then he talks loud." Later, during the lull between breakfast and lunch, Gregory saw Dennis again, this time near the front register, hovering behind a cashier named Tiana. She was helping an elderly customer who was hard of hearing. Her voice was gentle, patient, but Dennis leaned in too close, his tone sharp. "Speed it up. We're not a retirement home." Tiana's face froze. I don't need explanations. We can't wait 5 minutes per order." The customer looked down, embarrassed. Tiana apologized softly, then finished the transaction. Gregory clenched his jaw. He followed Tiana to the back when her break was called. "You okay?" he asked, keeping his voice low. She nodded, then paused. "It's just how it is here. Don't take anything personally." "Does he always talk like that in front of customers?" "Only when he's in a mood, which is most days." "Why stay?" She looked away. "I need the job. I'm helping cover my sister's tuition, and I've already been here 6 months. If I leave now, I lose the hours I banked." He didn't press, but his chest felt tight. That afternoon, another dishwasher didn't show up. Mia stepped in without complaint, but by mid-shift she was soaked to the elbows, her hands red from hot water. Gregory offered to trade spots, but she waved him off. "You're still learning the line. I'll live." 2 hours into dinner rush, a new issue flared. A delivery order had gone missing and a customer came in furious. Dennis came out of the office, annoyed before the man even spoke. "I've been calling for 30 minutes, the customer said. "I ordered 2 bowls and a side. Your app charged me, but nothing came." Dennis barely looked at the receipt. "If the app glitched, that's not on us. Contact support." The man's voice rose. "I'm standing here." "I'm not leaving without food or a refund," Dennis sighed. "I don't do refunds at the register. You'll have to email corporate." Gregory stepped forward. "We should just remake the order." Dennis turned sharply. "Excuse me?" "It's 2 bowls," Gregory said evenly. "That's what $10 in food cost. We're about to lose a customer over $10. Dennis stared at him for a long second. "You don't speak for this store." Gregory held his ground but didn't reply. The customer stormed out. Later, while cleaning the fryer filters, Mia came over with a towel. "You're not like most new hires," he chuckled. "I'll take that as a compliment. You should. Most people either fall apart or check out. You're paying attention." "What keeps you here?" She didn't answer right away. "I used to think I'd move up, become a GM. Maybe even open a location of my own someday. I loved this place when it started, but lately, it's like we're just patching holes to keep from sinking." She paused, then added, "But I've got 2 younger siblings. Rent's not cheap. I'll stick it out until I can't anymore." Gregory nodded. "You shouldn't have to choose between stability and dignity." She looked at him, surprised by the phrasing. "You sound like someone who's worked both sides." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I have." The night ended late. Too late. Only 4 people were left to close, and none of them complained. They just worked. As Gregory walked out, he saw Dennis in the lot, talking on his phone, laughing. His car, a late model luxury sedan, gleamed under the parking lights. Gregory stared at it for a moment, then turned and kept walking. He was starting to understand. This wasn't just about being short-staffed. It was about the kind of leadership that turned effort into exhaustion and accountability into avoidance. Tomorrow, he would work the morning shift again. But he wouldn't be watching anymore. He'd start testing. By the 3rd morning, Gregory wasn't just tired, he was starting to feel what the team had been pushing through for weeks. The soreness in his joints was duller now, but the mental wear was sharper. He knew exactly how many steps it took to move from the prep sink to the walk-in. He could feel the rhythm of the line before it started, and with every passing hour, the weight of what he'd seen pressed heavier on him. He arrived before the sun came up, just as Mia was unlocking the back door. She looked drained. Her voice was hoarse when she greeted him. "2 more called out," she said. "Again." He followed her into the kitchen without a word. They started prep in silence. By opening, a skeleton crew had trickled in. Tiana was their eyes duller than before, her voice nearly gone from back-to-back shifts. Mateo had a bandage wrapped around his wrist. When Gregory asked him about it, he just said, "Hot oil, yesterday, no time to stop." Gregory offered to take his fryer station. Mateo didn't argue. The first 2 hours moved fast, too fast for their size. Online orders backed up. A delivery driver stood by the cut table for 10 minutes waiting on food that hadn't even hit the grill. Mia multitasked so hard she didn't notice when Lena slipped into the kitchen, clearly late. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were puffy, and her uniform shirt was on inside out. Dennis arrived half an hour later. He didn't say anything as he walked in. Just scanned the line, then pulled Lena aside near the dry storage. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. "You're late again. You think we don't notice?" "I had to get my brother to school," she said. "He missed the bus. Not my problem. I don't have anyone else. You think you're the only one here with a life. You want the job or not." Gregory stepped out from behind the fryer, grease still on his gloves. "Dennis, she's already here. We need hands." "Let's deal with this later." Dennis turned. His voice dropped into something colder. "I don't remember asking you." Mia moved in before things escalated. She stood between them, her jaw tight, her face unreadable. Let her clock in. "We'll talk about it after close." Dennis stared at her for a long moment, then turned and walked back to the office without another word. They made it through the lunch rush barely. Food ran low. A sauce batch spoiled mid-shift. Mateo's wrist started bleeding through the bandage. No replacement came. He wrapped it tighter and went back to flipping. Tiana lost her voice entirely. Sometime around 3, Gregory noticed the new kid. A teenager named Caleb, just hired 2 days ago. He was manning the register, visibly nervous, trying to explain the menu to a customer with a thick accent. Dennis stood about 10 feet away, arms crossed. When the customer asked for a substitution, Caleb hesitated. I think we can do that, but I need to check," Dennis cut in loudly. "No substitutions. You tell them no, no hesitation." The customer flinched, confused. Gregory stepped in. "We've made that change before. It's a sauce swap, not a policy issue." Dennis rounded on him. "Are you running the floor now?" "You want to be a manager?" Mia was behind them before Gregory could answer. "We've made that call before," she said. "Multiple times." Dennis scoffed and walked off. By 4, the team was running on fumes. Dishes were backed up. The floor was sticky. One of the fryers was sputtering. Gregory caught Mia coughing into her sleeve, face flushed. She waved him off. "I'm fine." "You're not," he said. "You're burning out." She glanced over at the clock. "I've got another 6 hours. Gregory wiped his hands. "You need to step outside, breathe. Drink something?" "I can't leave the line. I'll cover." She didn't argue, just stepped outside without a word. While she was gone, Dennis returned. He watched the line for a moment, then walked over to where Gregory was plating. "You're stepping out of line. Again." Gregory turned calmly. "I'm stepping up where you're absent." Dennis narrowed his eyes. "I don't know who you think you are, but you're a kitchen temp. You don't run this place. You don't question me." Gregory pulled off his gloves slowly, wiped his hands. "I think it's time we talk about who I really am." Dennis looked confused. Gregory stepped forward. "My name is Gregory Allen. I own this company, and I've been in your kitchen for 3 days." The room went silent. Mateo dropped a pair of tongs. Tiana looked up from the register, frozen. Mia, returning through the back door, stopped mid-step. Dennis blinked. "No. That's not." Gregory pulled his wallet from the locker shelf, opened it, and held up his ID. "Still think I'm just a temp?" Dennis's mouth opened, then shut. His face drained of color. "You've been exploiting this team. Cutting hours, threatening jobs, ignoring safety issues. You degraded a cashier in front of a customer. You tried to force a minor into a double shift. You've lied to my district supervisors about staffing levels. And you've created an environment where people are afraid to ask for help," Dennis stammered. They're exaggerating. You've only been here a few. I've seen enough. You're done. As of now, you're terminated. Clean out your desk. You're not setting foot in another one of my buildings." Dennis looked to Mia, then to Mateo, then back to Gregory. "You'll regret this." "I regret not doing it sooner. Now leave." Dennis stood frozen for a long beat, then turned and walked out, slamming the office door on his way. Gregory turned to the team. "I'm sorry it had to happen this way, and I'm sorry it took me this long to find out what was happening here." Nobody said anything. They just stared. He looked at Mia. "You're not alone anymore. Starting now, everything changes." She nodded slowly, still processing. Gregory stepped back onto the line, grabbed new gloves, and slid back into position. "Let's finish this shift. Together." No one cheered. No one clapped. They just nodded and kept working, but the silence felt different now. It wasn't defeat. It was relief. By the next morning, word had spread. No one said anything directly to Gregory when he arrived, clean-shaven now, back in his normal clothes, but the way people moved around him was different. Not out of fear, out of uncertainty. Mia greeted him with a quiet nod, her sleeves rolled up, a clipboard in one hand. She hadn't missed a step. "Payroll's a mess," she said, getting straight to it. Dennis was cutting hours without logging them. Tiana's missing overtime for 2 weeks. So is Mateo. Lena's schedule doesn't even match what the system says. "Show me everything," Gregory said. They spent the next 3 hours in the back office, reviewing shifts, clock-ins, and messages Dennis had sent through the internal scheduling app. What emerged wasn't just negligence, it was systemic abuse bent around keeping costs down at the team's expense. Missed breaks logged as taken. Hours capped on paper to avoid overtime penalties. Shifts rearranged mid-week without notice, then used as pretext for write-ups. When Gregory stepped back into the kitchen, Matteo was wiping down the grill in silence. His wrist was wrapped better this time. Mia had forced him to tape it properly, but he still moved with strain. Gregory walked over, not as a boss, but as someone who had stood next to him on the line. "I saw your hours. You stayed late 12 days in a row without logging out." Matteo kept his eyes on the grill. "If I clocked out, I couldn't finish prep." "If I didn't finish prep, we'd start the next day already behind. You shouldn't have had to make that choice." No one else was going to. Gregory didn't try to offer comfort. Instead, he said what mattered. "You'll be paid for everything. I've already called payroll, retroactive overtime. And a raise, effective immediately." Matteo looked at him, surprised. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." He turned to find Tiana near the register, prepping the POS for lunch. Her voice was rough but audible now. She didn't speak until he approached. "You really fired him?" "I did." She tapped the side of the screen, eyes focused forward. "Didn't think anyone up top would ever notice, let alone care." "I didn't notice soon enough. That won't happen again." She looked up, studying him for a second. "He used to say we were lucky to have jobs, that if we didn't like it, someone else would take our place. Anyone who says that doesn't know the value of the people in front of them. You staying?" "Yes." She gave a small nod and returned to her screen. By noon, Gregory had gathered the entire team in the dining area. The store was closed for the day. He'd paid everyone for a full shift anyway. Some sat. Others leaned against the wall. No one knew what to expect. "I'm not going to give you a speech," Gregory said. "You've already heard too many of those. What I will say is simple. You've been holding this store together with grit, heart, and sheer willpower, and I let you down by not seeing what was happening sooner." He looked around the room. No one interrupted. No one looked away. "Starting today, every store in this company is being audited. Staffing, scheduling, pay, all of it. We're hiring third-party consultants to make sure conditions are fair and sustainable, not just here, everywhere." He paused, then continued. "Mia has been promoted to general manager, effective immediately, full authority, full trust. She'll be leading this location and she'll be helping redesign the training program company-wide." Mia didn't react right away. Then she stood, arms crossed, not defensive, just steady. "Are you serious?" "I am. You've been doing the job already. Now you'll be paid for it, and you'll have the resources to do it right." She exhaled, slow and controlled. "Then I want to start by hiring 3 more full-time staff, and I want Matteo off the line for a week to recover." "That's non-negotiable," Gregory nodded. "Done." She turned and sat back down. He continued. "Back pay will be issued within 72 hours. Everyone getting less than our new base rate will be adjusted. And effective next month, health coverage will be offered to anyone working 30 or more hours a week." Lena raised her hand, hesitant. "What about my write-ups?" "They're gone. All of them. You did nothing wrong. And if you're interested, we'd like to offer you a mentorship path towards shift lead." Her eyes widened. "Me? You've been showing up for your team even when you were cornered. That's leadership. We'll support you every step of the way." She nodded, stunned, silent. Later that afternoon, the regional HR rep arrived to conduct one-on-one interviews. Gregory stayed out of them, letting people speak freely. By evening, an operations team had been dispatched to help with repairs, deep cleaning, and equipment updates. Gregory didn't return to his office that week. He stayed in Mesa, helping stock, clean, and set up the new scheduling system. On Friday, he joined the team for their first fully staffed day in nearly 2 months. The energy was different, not loud, not dramatic, just steady. Mia moved through the kitchen with quiet control, delegating without strain. Caleb smiled for the first time since Gregory had met him. Tiana's voice held strength. Matteo, off the clock for the first time in ages, came in just to eat and check on the crew. Gregory sat at a booth near the front, watching plates come out on time, guests greeted warmly, and a team that finally wasn't just surviving. Mia slid into the seat across from him, 2 iced teas in hand. She pushed one toward him. You know, she said, when you first showed up, I thought you were going to quit before Wednesday. I almost did, but you stayed. I had to. She took a sip, then leaned back. You know what the worst part of all this was? He shook his head. It wasn't the hours or the stress. It was knowing how hard we were working while someone else got credit for it. That's what makes people leave. He nodded, absorbing every word. That won't happen again, he said. It better not. They sat in silence for a while, the hum of a functioning store around them. No yelling, no chaos. No one on the verge of breaking. Gregory stood. I'll be back next month. Regular check-ins, unannounced. She raised an eyebrow. Still going to wear the fake tattoos, he laughed. I think I'll leave those behind. He left the store quietly, no speech, no ceremony. Just a nod to the crew as he passed the register. Back at headquarters, he called his executive team together the following week. We're not running a food business, he told them. We're running a people business. The food just gives us the excuse. The reforms he implemented began rolling out across the company: anonymous reporting lines, managerial retraining, leadership rotation programs, and most importantly, a new rule burned into policy: no one is irreplaceable. Except the team that shows up every day and makes it work. The Mesa store didn't become perfect overnight, but it became honest, and that was enough to rebuild trust. Gregory never went undercover again. He didn't need to. He just showed up.